So you see that last week we understood desire is seeking something other than me, outside. So there are two factors. Mind is seeking object, person, event to be happy. That is what my dear friend did. I will only say one phrase, loveless life. Think of it. If you do not think, this mind is not going to change. Why? Because the mind comes from the animal mind with four instincts: a sense of fear, insecurity will continue to remain. We are endowed with an intellect to think. So if you do not think, the mind will follow its default nature. So when it follows the default nature, then what happens? It believes happiness is outside without searching within. Tell me, why animal beings do not search inside? Why the hell if we should search inside? Because they do not have an intellect. They do not live in higher self-awareness. Think of it. They do not live. And they claim, they declare for all practical purposes, they are the body. See that? So that is how we understood, because this animal mind do not understand if happiness is outside. Do not understand means wrong notion, delusion. Not understanding is means wrong notion. I keep with the wrong notion. Honey, can you give me a little love? Honey doesn't have love. How he or she can give? Ask the pasta on the table. I will be happy eating you. So we need to think. If we do not think, it will never happen. We are thinking people, human race. Now something happens, like a mirror reflects our sun rays too far. I had considered this as a mirror, sunlight is falling on it, and where its reflection? This side. So what the mind thinks, by default, if we do not apply the principles of Eastern wisdom, mind says happiness is there. Like a mirror reflects the sun rays too far. Similarly, mind, due to wrong notion or delusion, reflects happiness too far. So when it is reflecting the happiness too far in time, in space. Did you understand until this point? So if you have understood until this point, let me give you an example. I am single and stressed. So in time and the space, I found a soulmate which will make me happy. Sophie, why you are looking here and there? Did you find one? so, so do you see that? Understand that logic. I'm single and stressed, will be happy after marriage. I am unhappy with the marriage, will be happy after I will divorce. This time and this space belongs to the world. Tomorrow I will be happy means what? I have found something that will make me happy. It will never happen. Make it sure. It has never happened in the life of human beings. What is this? So these thoughts with the feelings, nothing but the delusion. We enter into delusion. Means we do not know if happiness is there, still we believe it. Why we believe it? Because we have projected. I gave you an example. Like a mirror reflects the sun rays too far. That causes what it causes? The desire takes birth in the mind. When the desire takes birth in the mind, it never comes to an end. That is why our masters speak out there is no desire fulfillment in the life of a human being. One desire causes the other desire. We already know it. We experience. Now see what our masters guide us. They say that objects of the world will remain outside. They do not enter into you. You know, we sometimes talk, what we talk? Two soul, one body. No, opposite. Two bodies, one soul. That is how we define soulmate. It does not exist. Think of it. Does it exist? Two body, one soul. This is delusion. So we experience. Why? Because whatever the objects and the people are outside, that we experience inside the mind. So two factors. World, outside, experience, inside. So it means the experience of happiness, love, wisdom, stress, suffering are always inside my mind. Sometimes people refer, our masters refer, this heart is the seat of the mind. That is why I'm putting my hand on the heart. Here, my experience is inside. Object is outside. How funny. We make fun of ourselves when we say, John is responsible for my stress and suffering. I'm making fun of myself because the experience is inside. Will you stop making fun of yourself? We start blaming others. We are making fun of ourselves. That is another delusion. That is another delusion. And as long as we live in the delusion will destroy our life. So, with that background, let us see how desire takes birth. So, it means the desire takes birth in the mind. Simple. First, separate with clear understanding. Objects are outside. Middle, sense organs. Inside, the mind is there. 3 layers. When I see you all, you are object to my mind, whether it is an object or a person or an event or an item or a past. Object independent of themselves. Sense organs always open to the world outside. They are one-sided window. They are exactly like mirror. Mirror in the front is transparent. Behind it is opaque. Sense organs are opaque. 2 things. Then comes the mind. 3 factors. Object, Sense organ, mind. The moment sense organ sees, say for example, John, mind by default has a liking or disliking. By default. Animal mind does not know why it likes, why it dislikes. For John, it's wonderful, handsome. After the session, mind repeats the same thought. And you are actually handsome, John. So I refrain from saying, beauty to the girls, Otherwise. So you see that now the session is gone. Mind continues to think about it, think about an event, think about an object. So constant thinking leads to either attachment or detachment. Now these are the thoughts that causes the desire to possess, to own, to enjoy. So now we have reached to the four factors. Objects are independent. Sense organs are totally neutral. Eyes do not tell you that you like someone or you hate someone. Isn't it? It is the mind behind, because of likes and dislikes, have created a thought pattern of attachment and detachment, that where the desire, birth of a desire takes place. Four factors: object, sense organ, mind. Now the mind, animal mind, which is impulsive, which is instinctive, which is habitual, I have already covered, perhaps in third or the fourth session. Temporary, mind, instinctive, impulsive, instinctive. We have to ask the intellect to work on it. If it doesn't work, no solution is there in our life. Right? So repetition of the thought. And we claim my mind is crazy, it is wandering. How to relax? You are responsible for it. You were not aware. You were living in lower level of self-awareness. You were attracted impulsively, habitually. What should we do? Look at it. Now we have resulted into what is this desire. I have already explained to you means what? Desire is seeking something other than me, any object or a person. Now you can easily understand. By giving an added value that do not exist. I am single and stressed. If I marry, I will be happy. No, marriages are not always bring happiness. You all have experiences. Why should I go in detail? Did you understand the four factors? Now this desire is fulfilled. See that how the chain reaction is caused in the mind. Fifth factor. So this desire, say for example, fulfill simple desires. No, I like pasta, go to the restaurant, spend some money, and I'm happy. So if the pasta that I like, I enjoyed, I owned it, it brings momentary pleasure, which you can say short-term happiness. So what happens to you next week? Oh, let us go to the same restaurant. Now see that out of the blue, the thought returns. Some people came from California and some people came from here in Arizona to attend the Saturday's celebration in my house. Everything is over. The young gentleman sent me a message. What is that beautiful girl? I want a phone number. I said, I don't have phone number. See, So I don't have phone number. I have an email. So if you like, I can send you. Obviously, he did not respond. There is nothing wrong or right, but what happens, what we are understanding, the his mind must have been thought of it, and thinking continued, and in a spur of a moment, his mind triggered. Ask this beer guy, what is her phone number? This is what the Eastern wisdom teaches. So that trigger, from where this trigger comes, because of repeated thinking. Do you see? Because of repeated thinking. Why repeated thinking? Because of attachment and detachment. So that desire is projecting happiness outside. This projection, reflection of the mirror, reflection of the sun rays from the mirror is known as delusion. Whether you say it is a delusion, whether you say it is an illusion, whether you say it is a wrong notion, or whatever name you say, Maya, all works. Now pay attention. Desire causes the turmoil inside, leads to suffering. So now how many factors? Object, sense organ, attachment and detachment, then desire, then delusion. Can you ever think that what is going to happen if I continue to live in delusion? That is what people say. I fell in love with this beautiful girl. Normally, men always says, I fell in love with a beautiful girl. Now I'm eating. I have the best food on the table that I like. I don't enjoy because the mind is living. I'm in love. I fall in love. You don't rise in. Same thing happens to any object. What is happening? Can you imagine? That is, the sixth factor is known as the loss of memory. Now I forget where I'm longing. A sense of forgetfulness is there. Why the sense of forgetfulness is there? Because the mind is constantly thinking, 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 unnecessarily with the wrong notion. Whether it is a love, you fall in love, whether you have grief or whether you have sorrow and suffering, that is how we think in this way. So now mind has gone down. Loss of memory does not give you the right perspective of life. Seventh factor, loss of intelligence. I don't live a life of a human being that I have already covered before. Loss of intelligence causes ignorance. Ignorance causes suffering. Because now I am not with myself. I do not live with myself. Who am I? Object, sense organ, attachment and detachment, desire, delusion, loss of memory, loss of intelligence, and suffering starts due to ignorance in life. Even you may have repeated thoughts might be continuing in your mind. It is only because of these eight factors. Examine it, observe it this week. Pick up from where the mind has picked you up. I was in love and he cheated me. Delusion. Fifth factor. I forget everything in his or her love. Loss of intelligence. Think of it. what is the solution? If there is ignorance, only the knowledge is solution. Ignorance can only be removed by knowledge. See that there are two pairs: action, inaction, uh, knowledge, ignorance. Now, can you pair action with the ignorance? No. How many breathing practices I have to do to know you, John? Action. Breathing is an action. I have to simply know you. The one who knows John, let Sophie introduce me to the John and I will know it. So knowledge and ignorance is one pair. If I live in ignorance, I have to remove the ignorance to get the knowledge. I don't know. When I say I don't know, what? I don't know geology. So what should I do? I should put the knowledge of geology in my head so I have the knowledge. But when we do not understand, we are not a seeker, then our master says, we will give you 100 breathing practices, 100 mantras, because we are not a seeker. So we go down, we add some of these practices in the meditation, or we can combine them. A bird enters into the house from a one hole. Then the bird started flying in all the rooms and forgot from where to go out. Forgotten. That is our loss of memory, loss of intelligence. I gave a hint of the solution of removing the ignorance. We have understood the 8 factors. Reverse the process. In your mind, through the knowledge, ignorance is there. What is that ignorance? That I am not happy, I am stressed. This is ignorance. Why it is ignorance? Peace and happiness are my essential nature, masters have told me. So there is a loss of intelligence. Let me allow the intellect to work on the mind. Now I gain intelligence. Intelligence means clarity. Clarity means classifying, separating. What is intelligence? In that is neighbor's house and this is my house. Clarity is there. What is that clarity? What I did? Classified. This thought from that thought. Did you understand that? There's thought from the. We are reversing the process. Ignorance. Now we start thinking, understanding, gaining the knowledge is clarity, understanding. No. Our mind says happiness is there and the John. No. Reject it. Happiness is within me. Separating, classifying, clarity. What happens when I bring that clarity? The mind that is constantly bubbling and creating the waves of seeking an object for happiness also calms down. Now, in the case of these two people, which I just explained, both have a problem. That's why they approached me. They are doing a private lesson with me. Boy and girl. Now, in that state of mental challenges, I am seeking love from somebody else. That is delusion. So, reversing the process. So, we have come to the delusion. Now I understand delusion is a projection caused by the attachment and detachment. So I look at the attachment and detachment that is also dropped. Now this mind through the sense organ perceives the object of the world outside as it is. Do you all love me? I will ask you, what do you love in me? One beautiful women said, you have an impressive beard. I asked, am I not impressive? My beard are impressive. You see, you constantly live into that higher level of self awareness, even though later on I appreciated her. I said, okay, you have told me that I have an impressive beard. So, American thought, I appreciate you. I said, it doesn't mean anything. So, what you did not depend on it. Why? When you depend on it, it causes the attachment and detachment. I just made a joke and made it as it is. Done. Simple. So, what happens? What is the solution? You reverse the entire process. Object, sense organ, attachment and detachment, desire, delusion, loss of memory, loss of intelligence, ignorance. We enjoy our sorrow and suffering. We enjoy blaming others. We lived a loveless life for 27 years. Thank God we did. None of us, we live our loveless life for so many years. Maybe I don't know about you, but I know about myself. So you see that what happens? Object remain independent outside. Sense organs are neutral. The mind is educated about the desire that is causing the delusion. Now the same mind thinks totally differently, so there is no delusion. So when there is no delusion, there is no loss of memory and loss of intelligence, there is no ignorance. And when there is no ignorance, where the mind will wander? Nowhere. This mind is not wandering anywhere, my friends. Master says, quiet mind is happy mind. Prasadi sarva dukkhana, all your sorrow comes to an end. That is meditation and mindfulness. So that is, I'm covering the second chapter of the Gita. I'm still focused on that. Prasadi sarva dukkhana mahani asya upajayate prasanna chetas hiyashu buddhi paryava tishthate. Now, have you understood clearly? This crazy mind causes the suffering. Make fun of this mind. So the master says, remain cheerful all the time. Have you understand the loss of cheerfulness? By these 8 factors. So the mind returns with the state of cheerfulness all the time. There is a sweet sense of calmness. That person is a seeker, and then the seeker succeeds in meditation. Tell me, This is what the masters have been teaching. So, what happens when you reverse the process? You strip the mind of these 8 factors. That can happen by understanding, that can happen by knowing it, by understanding it, by clarity. And when that clarity comes, the intellect is 200% convinced, means clarity is there. And when that clarity is there, then what happens? You have a state of cheerfulness all the time, 24/7. Past impressions may trigger your mind, but you return again because of gaining the intelligence and the mind. And that person is a seeker, and the seeker always succeeds in meditation. So, what is the meaning of succeeding in meditation? Then we will do the practice. What is the success? Knowledge of the real self is revealed in me, within me. Knowledge of the real self. What is the nature of the real self? Nature of the real self is permanent peace, happiness, love, wisdom. Did you understand my gossip? If you forget, loss of intelligence, loss of memory. I believe you all are seekers, you will not forget. Tell me if there is anything, any link is absent. Then we will start our practice. So what should we do? Because I have not understood in the past the cause of my delusion and the suffering, hence I will restart thinking. I will reset the button of the mind. Let me start thinking in this way and see. Is the delusion remains? No. Loss of memory remains? No. Loss of intelligence remains? No. So I enter into the state of the cheerfulness and the sweet calm. This master says, the sweet calm enters into your mind. And that sweet calm makes you sweet. John is nodding his head, so I thank you very much. You agreed to it, so let us start our practice of meditation. Eyes are closed.